Hello everyone, my name is Beth and welcome back to NF Talks, where I do a monthly vlog when I can about neurofibromatosis. This month is June and June is Scoliosis Awareness Month, so I will be talking a little bit about my scoliosis journey, how it started and how it still impacts me in this present day, today. So my journey first started back in 2003, so over 20 years ago now. And it started, I was in year 5 at the time, because my schooling, I was unfortunately held back a year because I moved from one area of the UK back to where I currently live. So I was held back, which I didn't mind. So I was in year 5, and it started off with obviously pain. And obviously I was diagnosed with the scoliosis after going to the doctors and having x-rays. And at the time it was minor, but it was just sort of monitored. And then obviously in the September of 2003 I was put into year 6, and when I was in year 6 it started getting gradually worse. And then obviously my leaning was getting worse, and my head, my neck was on my shoulder, and that was getting worse. My running, when I could, I was sort of running off in like a zigzag diagonal way. And when 2004 came, that's when my spine got really, really bad, and it turned in from a normal curve. You might not be able to see this because this is the only current x-ray I have of when my scoliosis first happened. So this was before it gradually got worse. So that's my scoliosis before it gradually got worse. And as it went on, it turned into a double S, which does happen. But not only did it turn into the double S curve, it was also twisting. So the double S and the twist on both sides was severely impacting us. So obviously I had the scans again. I had an MRI, CT scan, make sure everything was okay. And that's when they said, right, she needs the operation, otherwise it's going to get worse. It's going to impact her breathing, which it already was, because my left lung is now damaged because of it. So that was going to sound affect that. So they did that, went through all the operations, pre-operation strategics and stuff like that, and they looked back at the x-ray because they were going to do a different operation, I believe my mum was telling me, where they were going to do something with the intervertebral vertebrae, sort that out, and then later on have fusion. But no, they said I had to have the rods on my spine there and then, because it was really, really bad. They were so surprised that not only was I still walking, that I was still breathing because of my lung, because my lung has literally been crushed. So they did a 12-hour operation where they put the 2 titanium rods and 15 and 20 screws on either side of the rods to put them in place to hold my spine up. So that took 12 hours. I was in the ICU for a little while because I lost over 2 litres of blood. And I remember the day because it was my uncle's birthday at the same time. So Wednesday, the 3rd of March, 2004, 8 a.m. was when my scoliosis operation happened, and I did not come round until about 9 o'clock at night, between 9 and 10, I want to say. So they had to make sure I was okay because of the amount of blood I lost. But obviously I got that back because obviously I had to take blood out previously, and then I did some more. So I was put in the ICU. I think I was in the ICU for a couple of days before I went back to the children's ward, where I was in my own little room. And I remember my mother came, obviously. The next day, my mum, my nana, my uncle, who is the same age as me, and my sister, my brother all came to visit, and I just remember my uncle and my sister just stopping dead at the door because they saw little me, because I'm petite, in the bed with all these wires and tubes and stuff, and it scared my sister because my sister was 10 years old, and she got really upset, so they had to take my sister and my uncle out of the room to calm them down. My brother was fine. My brother was like, "Hi Beth, I've missed you." And then my brother went out to for him to calm down, and my nana was next to us on the left hand side, and I obviously fell asleep, and I woke up and she was still holding my hand. So I was in hospital for about 2-3 weeks. Then I came back to my nana's because my nana had a stair lift, because I had to use the stair lift to make it easier for us. And then after about a week, I went back home because I was a little bit more mobile, but not as much as what I was. But obviously, with the risks of the scoliosis, we were told that because it was a serious operation, there was a risk of paralysis. And I'm very fortunate that that didn't happen, but we had to be careful with the rods, because if you did too much or whatever, it could have tweaked my back. But because of the rods, I cannot bend, I cannot lift. So that has been implemented since I was 11 years old. So my back is just very, very rigid. It's just stayed in one place. So I can't bend forward and I can't go back, which is very surprising because I am hyperflexibility and I am also double jointed as well. So I can't move my back. So I ended up saying, right, you've got to be careful, make sure you don't do too much, because you could seriously hurt yourself. So I did. I couldn't do PA anymore, which really upset us because I love dancing. I really did love to dance, and I remember being as a kid before my scoliosis that I used to make dances up with my sister, with my uncle, with my cousins when my cousins came to visit, and I just couldn't do it, and I got really upset because I just loved to dance at the time. And even now, I still, when I'm listening to music, I still have like a dance in my head, which I think is also a neurodivergent thing. I think a lot of people with neurodivergent conditions have that. So I did go back to school couple of months later, once I was fully healed. I say fully healed, once the scar was fully healed and I was able to go. And everybody's school was really, this was primary school. Everyone in school was really very happy to see us because they all made a massive card, and I always remember it. I always remember who drew it. It was this massive card, and he was called Stuart. I can never remember his surname, but he was called Stuart, and he drew 2 Siamese cats because they all knew I loved animals, especially dogs and cats, and he drew 2 Siamese cats at the front. And everybody in my year signed the card. Everybody in the other year 6 signed the card, and as did all the teachers, because all the teachers knew me. And they all signed the card, and I remember it. And I had this, I don't know if I've still got it, but I've had this little, it was in my bedroom, because I'm currently in my bedroom. I had this little monkey that my teacher got me, Mrs. Graham. I absolutely loved her, Mrs. Graham. And I named it Bernie. I'm trying to see where it is because I am currently in my bedroom. And I don't want to put... Is it behind me, actually? No, it's not behind us. I'll find it some other day. But, and I've still got it. I've still got this little monkey, and I'll never get rid of it because it's a memory from, obviously, my spinal operation, but from primary school as well. And like I said, I've still got it. And with us not being able to do PA, I had to still be careful. I had to have physio, because physio was the only way I could sort of exercise, if you put it like, just twisting and stuff, which I still can't really do. So that was when I was 11. And then every year up until I was 18, 19, I saw my spinal specialist. I'll never forget him. He was a brilliant man, absolutely brilliant. And get the x-rays and stuff. And one of the x-rays that I had, because I've still got it here, was 2013. And I didn't realise how bad my lung was until I saw it, obviously. So that was in 2013. And that's my right lung, so that's a healthy lung. And here, you can actually see my this lung's actually quite smaller. But that's my rods. That's my little rods. So that was in 2013. So there we go, that's better. So that was in 2013. And then this is the side view. So this is the side view. So that's the rods. That's how far the screws go in. Now, at the age of 16, I was told that if the rods and spine weren't fully fused, I would have to have spinal fusion surgery, which is very, very common for people with scoliosis to have spinal fusion surgery, even though they've got the rods in place. Mine had all fused, which was brilliant. So it goes to not that long ago. I've just looked at it because there we go. Move on my details. And this was a couple of years ago, where unfortunately the pain in my back has been getting worse, and I'm like, is it the scoliosis again? What's happening? Because I have to be mindful, even though it's been over 20 years. With scoliosis, you still have to be careful, because you can sometimes get a bottom curve. Not all the time, but you can also get a bottom curve. So I was like, this pain, and I know my body very, very well. Just like you've got any other condition, if you have neurofibromatosis, if you know your body, if you had scoliosis previously as well, and you know your body, with any condition, if you know your body very, very well and you're susceptible to pain and understand that the pain is not right, you have to listen to yourself and keep going to the doctors, because it was a good job I did, because I've got severe wear and tear now, especially at the bottom of my spine. Now, I was told that because of the rods, my rods are holding my spine in place, are actually holding me in place. If I didn't have those rods, my spine would have actually collapsed. So I'm very, very thankful for these rods, even though in summer, like it is today, in hot weather, the pain with the heat obviously gets bad, but winter is worse. And I don't know if anybody else with scoliosis has noticed this or has this. Now, I say I'm between 5 foot and 5'1". The reason why I say is I'm between 5 foot and 5'1" is because of these lovely little rods. Because in summer, I gain the inch. I gain a couple of centimetres. I'm usually between 152 to 154 centimetres. Summer, I can go up to 155. Maybe 155.5 on a very, very hot day. But in winter, I lose the couple of centimetres and I lose the inch. So that was with the rods, because obviously even though the rods are inside you, they're still susceptible to the environment that's going around. Just like my hair is really blonde at the moment. So this was in last year. This is my spine currently, and a couple of specialists and my physiotherapist saw us after I had to have steroid injections because of the pain. Was like, yes, your pelvis is not supposed to look like that. So that is what I am currently standing like. You can't really see. There we go. So you can still, the bras is still okay. They're still brilliant. And this is an even better, had a message, image than the previous one because I've got an actual copy. And that's my left lung. That's the lung that I struggle to breathe with next to my healthy lung. But if you look at my hips, there we go. If you look at my hips are severely misaligned, which has caused this to slightly curve. And sorry for the barking, that's my next door neighbour's dogs. But the reason why I'm thankful for these rods as well is because unfortunately they could not save all of the curve because it was that badly curved. They just couldn't save it. They told my mum, this is the best we can do because of the impact of the curve. So that's it. So this is obviously my hips, and there's a little face in my hip. There's a little face in my hip there. It's got 2 eyes and a mouth, but that's my hips. I had to have a bone graft as well, remember, because I've got a scar on my right hip. Because obviously the pelvis bone is the perfect one for bone grafts to do with the spine because it looks quite similar. So I had to have that as well. And that's fully healed. The bone grew back because bones can grow back. So this was what I had to have. I had to have steroid injections in 2024. So the steroid injections were because of the pain. I'm still in pain now. Because scoliosis, the pain doesn't go away. Sometimes because I was young, because I was 11 years old and I'm now 34, my brain is susceptible to the pain that I was in previously. So my brain has been wired automatically to think, right, I cannot feel this type of pain because I'm used to it, which is why I knew something wasn't right with the pain I did have. Which is why I always say, even with neurofibromatosis, if you know something isn't right, listen to yourself. Always advocate for yourself. So like I say, I am 34 years old now, and I'm struggling. I can't get out of a taxi properly now. I have to literally push myself up off a chair, off the bed. Getting in and out of a taxi, I have to go in backwards, which has been implemented in since I was 11 because it was safer. So even though I was getting backwards still and I'm just flinging my legs around, getting out of a taxi, I used to be able to step out normally. But now I have to swing my legs around. I use my crutch to get out of the taxi to lift myself up, which can take some time, and sometimes some taxi drivers aren't as patient or as understanding, even though you've got mobility aid and you obviously got a clear indication of a disability. So that I'm still struggling with that. Now with the pain, medication I was on before, I'm not on anymore because my body's used to it. And when your body's used to one certain type of medication, it can often reject it. So I do apologise, I've just been sent a message. So because I was on it for so long, my body's just like, no, this doesn't cut out for us. So the medication I am on now, I was on for the nerve pain in my, obviously with the neurofibromatosis and my knee, and it works wonders with my back, but it's not working as much as I want it to. because the spine is a different set of nerves than anything else, because we have to be very, very careful with our spines as well. Because obviously, even though the spine's flexible, if your spine is permanently in one position, it does hurt, especially if you're waking up, especially in winter, when you're so stiff and you can't actually move, and you just want to move but you can't. You have to lift yourself up, which is why I'm not keen on winter, especially the risk of falling on ice. So when winter comes and there's ice on the floor, I don't go out. I don't really even go out in summer with the sun as well. Even though I've got like factor 50 on us, I get really, really itchy because I'm so pale. And obviously with the neurofibromatosis, the itchiness gets worse in summer. And with that, finding other medications is difficult, but the medication I'm on currently is working, which I'm grateful for. So scoliosis, it is part of neurofibromatosis. Now, just like with any other condition that I've said previously with neurofibromatosis, it does not mean that everybody with scoliosis will have neurofibromatosis type 1, and not everyone with neurofibromatosis type 1 will have scoliosis. We will have some sort of bone condition, including arthritis. We can either have it as juvenile, as children, or we can have it later on in our adult life or elderly life. But we do get affected by bone conditions as well, which obviously brings me on to my face, because I have a very, very mishmashed, I like to say mismatched, I know it's not, and I know it's not the correct word. I have a facial deformity, and people do notice, and I've noticed since I was a kid. And what I'll be talking more in depth about this next month, because I think next month is I'm doing the mental health awareness one next month, July. It does affect us, the way I look. And I always say to everybody, the only thing I like about myself is my eyes. I have the bluest eyes, and especially when the sun hits them, or if I'm wearing blue, the blue is more pronounced, and my eye shades, one eye is slightly lighter than the others. You can actually see one eye is slightly lighter than the other. It's very, very slight, and not a lot of people notice it. But we will have some form of skeletal deformity, whether it's a skull, a spine, a legs, wrists, hands, arthritis. We get bowed legs as well. And it is just part of the NF1. Does it mean that we have to always think negatively about or worrying about getting these things? There's nothing, no harm in worrying a little bit. It's just making your mind aware of what's going on. And with everybody is different, and scoliosis journey is different. There are people who do have scoliosis who don't have the rods. There are people who unfortunately have gone past the point of not being able to have rods, because scoliosis does vary from person to person. And I do have facts on this one. Normally they're on my iPad, but I'm using my iPad today to record because I can't put my phone on there. So there are different types of scoliosis. There's kyphosis, idiopathic, and I had both. I was diagnosed with both kyphosis and idiopathic scoliosis. So the scoliosis is measures at 10 or greater. I guess I've got the facts on here. 10 degrees or greater. Now, mine was, I think my mum, it was about 80 degrees, my mum was saying. It typically forms in a C or S shape and is often accompanied by spinal twisting, which can lead to hip rumps, which I do have. One side is quite pronounced than the other. Uneven shoulders or misaligned hips. Now, as you saw in here, that's my misaligned hips. Now, that wasn't there several years ago. It was not there. It's just gradually happened out as I've gotten older. And like I say, there's the C curve and there's the S curve, but there's also what's known as the double S curve, which is what I had. So the top of my spine was an S and towards the bottom of my spine was the S as well. So idiopathic scoliosis is about 80% of all cases. So that is the most common one, and it's classified as adolescent idiopathic scoliosis, or AIS, meaning it is unknown. Now, at the time, mine was unknown. We didn't know where it came from or how it happened. But now that I have neurofibromatosis, I was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis when I was 14, NF1 and scoliosis do happen together. They do happen side by side. And it is not a lifestyle disease, regardless what people say. It is, because a lot of people do believe that, and that is not true. It is not caused by bad posture, carrying heavy backpacks, or playing specific sports or diet. It's just your spine. It just happens. Now, age, can affect anyone from infants to adults. The most common type appears in children and teens between the ages of 10 and 15, right before or during puberty. So I was 11. I was 11 years old in September 2003 when I was first going through this journey, and then I was still 11 years old. It was just before my 12th birthday. Like I say, it was Wednesday the 3rd of March 2004. I turned 12 on May the 11th, 2004. Now, there are some warning signs. There's not a lot. It is usually painless, but it can have pain, because everybody has different pain tolerances. There are people who have low pain tolerance, there are people who have moderate pain tolerance, and there are people who have high pain tolerance. But early detection relies on noticing asymmetrical features such as uneven shoulders, a raised shoulder blade, uneven hips, or clothes that hang unevenly. Now with me, it was I said this wrong before, my head on my neck, on my shoulder, and I was like that. It was literally, this shoulder was up, but this one was all the way down. Scoliosis is also genetic, but the genetic part is a lot lower than other genetic conditions such as NF1. About 30% of individuals diagnosed with scoliosis have a family history of the disease. We do have a family history. My great-grandmother had scoliosis, mild scoliosis at the bottom of her spine. So that's where my sort of genetic link comes into it, but not the NF1. I'm the only one in my family with the NF1. It's a spontaneous mutation on chromosome 17. So there are various treatments and outlooks. Treatment is rare. Most scoliosis curves are mild with less than 20 to 25 degree curve and require no typical medical intervention, just physio and monitoring. Only about 20% of diagnosed individuals ever need bracing, and less than 10% require surgery. So that's the percentage of those who need bracing, which is 20%, and less than 10% require surgery. I didn't have bracing, so I think now they do different methods. I think they tried the bracing method first. If that doesn't work, they go with the halo, I think it's called, and that happens to help straighten the posture and then I go surgery. I skipped all of them and went straight to surgery because the curve had just went like that. All of a sudden, it just changed overnight. So with bracing for growing children, an external torso brace is highly effective at preventing the curve from worsening. So I didn't need that, like I say, but there are other children that have it, and they're usually done, obviously, especially little ones that get it. It's very, very rare that someone under the age of 10 does have scoliosis, but it's the same method with everybody else. Surgical success, if a curve is severe, often over 50 to 60 degree, mine was over both of those by quite a bit, and continues to progress. Surgery such as spinal fusion, which is a highly advanced and typically allows children to return to normal active lives within weeks of procedure. Now, just because it says that doesn't mean everybody else is the same. It wasn't for me. I unfortunately could never do exercise again. I couldn't dance again. And scoliosis is more common than people think. It affects over 200 million people worldwide. 8 in 10 cases of scoliosis are idiopathic, which means it's done out of nowhere. They have no exact cause, unknown cause. Surgery isn't always required. Scoliosis, believe it or not, is more common in girls than boys because we grow at different rates. Adolescent girls may be up to 10 times more likely to develop scoliosis than boys. You can still exercise if you have scoliosis, but exercise, but those with scoliosis, exercise may not work for everybody. Scoliosis can be hereditary. Animals can also have scoliosis as well. It's been found in fish, cats and dogs, so it's just not a Homo sapien condition. Having scoliosis, especially for those who can bear children, having scoliosis does not mean that you won't be able to have children. This is a common myth, but in most cases, people who have no problems with pregnancy and labour can carry on with children and have children. So unfortunately, I won't be able to have children because of other medical factors. There are many celebrities with scoliosis as well, such as Sarah Michelle Gellar, Rebecca Ramogen, who plays Mystique for the X-Men. She's got scoliosis. Sarah Michelle Gellar. Princess Eugenie, she also has scoliosis, and she showed off her scar for her wedding. Severe scoliosis can affect a person's appearance. Severe scoliosis causes leaning to one side, uneven shoulder blades, or the ribs forming a lump on the back, which it's very, very rare with severe scoliosis. So that is just to let people know. Just seeing. 5 out of 6 people with adolescent scoliosis are female. They are girls or biological. I'm just reading all the facts. To see if there's, because I've got them. History. Hippocrates, I can never pronounce his name. Hippocrates first described scoliosis around 400 BC, and the first recorded treatment attempts started in the 1500s. %90 of those living with scoliosis suffer psychological problems and general unhappiness. It's because I think most of us don't like the impact it has on our rest of our skeletal. 7% of advanced cases of scoliosis result in a rib hump. We can also get what's known as pigeon belly. 80% of those who are female develop chronic menstrual irregularities. who menstruate. 8% of those who menstruate develop chronic menstrual irregularities. Other side effects include 6% of cases have heart and lung challenges, and which is the most common cause of it, of the scoliosis. 15 to 20% of the world population is affected by scoliosis. 50% develop chronic digestive problems. 30% require bracing, and even smaller percent acquire surgery. Who is more at risk? I did not know this. Blind individuals have a 5 times greater chance, and the deaf have a 3.7 times greater chance of scoliosis than the general population. All those with scoliosis suffer with chronic neck and back pain. Yes. But there is no confirmed genetic cause of scoliosis. They just know it can be passed on. So there are other types of scoliosis. So there are 7 types of scoliosis. So there is idiopathic scoliosis. There is congenital scoliosis, which affects a baby as it's developing. There's neuromuscular scoliosis, which is a secondary complication of the disease that affects the muscles and the nerves. Common underlying conditions include cerebral palsy, spina bifida, muscular dystrophy, or spinal cord injuries, because the muscles are already weak or unbalanced, the spine curves over time. There is also degenerative scoliosis, also referred to as de novo scoliosis. This usually affects older adults, typically over the age of 50. It is caused by slow natural wear and tear of the spinal discs and joints over time, leading to arthritis, degeneration, and spinal shifting. There's Schumann's kyphosis, or primarily a disorder that causes a severe forward rounding of the back, hyperkyphosis. It often presents with a lateral side-to-side spinal curve. This form is typically structural, stemming from wedge-shaped vertebrae that develop during childhood growth. There is also syndromic scoliosis, which is a type of scoliosis that develops as a symptom of a broader underlying medical syndrome, and it's often seen in genetic conditions such as Marfan syndrome, Down syndrome, or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. There's also, the final one is traumatic or functional scoliosis. Traumatic scoliosis results from a direct physical injury, fracture, tumor, or trauma that causes the spine to shift. Functional or non-structural scoliosis, unlike the previous structural types, the spine is anatomically normal but curves as a reaction to an outside factor, such as having one leg significantly shorter than the other or experiencing muscle spasms. So they're the 7 types of scoliosis, but as I've said, I have both idiopathic and kyphosis scoliosis, and obviously it's still impacting me today. The pain is there every day. Pain never goes away. Only pain I get usually is when I sleep, but sometimes I wake up in pain. So that is scoliosis awareness. I will be posting this, obviously we'll be going out on Sunday at 8 o'clock in the morning, and once this is out, I'll be able to, this will also be going onto my TikTok, which is This Is Beth. You can also follow me on my NF journey, which on my YouTube, which is Beth's Bumpy Journey. Beth's Bumpy Journey is also for my Facebook page and my Instagram page. So if you want to follow me, please do. And I will let you all know when the next, well, in fact, I've got it written down. So if you please forgive me while I search what I wanted to do. because I have put them somewhere. I do have it sent to me somewhere, so if you please forgive me. That was it. Next month, July, it will be sarcomas. So, because July is Sarcoma Awareness Month, so I'll be doing that. And then, obviously, once I've figured out what I'm going to do for August and September, I will let you know in next month. So next month will be about sarcomas. If you are watching this, please like and comment below. And I will be hopefully be doing a Q&A at the end of the year, or maybe on either August or September's episode. So if you've got any questions, even if you want to know a bit about myself, I do not mind. So please put your questions below. And thank you very much for watching. Bye.